for about 15 years.
About 12 years.
About 15, 16 years now.
It's something that has always kind of brought me a lot of happiness.
It was just something that I like to do. It was a challenge.
It's a nice way to express myself, things that I can't express in other ways.
There's always ways to improve and to get better, and I think it's also helped me to come outside of my comfort zone.
When I was coming into college, I kind of thought that, I'm turning 18, I'm probably not going to go into music, so I'm kind of going to play less. But when I got here to Skidmore, I started playing more than I ever have before.
So I'm in the big band, the orchestra, small jazz ensembles, low brass, chamber music.
I'm in orchestra. Right now I'm in 4 different chamber ensemble groups.
I'm in the orchestra, and I'm in the chamber ensemble, and through the chamber ensemble I'm in a couple of smaller chamber groups.
There's something really, really nice about playing with that big a group of people. There's just such a wide array of textures and sounds that instruments that you can convey so much more through playing in an orchestra in some ways than you can just by playing by yourself. And so it's nice to be able to contribute just like a small part to that huge goal and see like everybody kind of do that. And in the end, if it goes well, you get this huge whole is greater than the sum of the parts type experience.
I mean, for one, you get to meet so many new people, and the music we play is always fun, and being able to kind of have a little bit of that chamber ensemble communication with your stand partner or the people around you is always kind of fun.
It can be a little daunting at times to try to figure out, because there aren't as many people to contribute, so you all have to come up with the same amount of ideas that you would have in like a larger group, because it's typically like a similar amount of music, and it can be really, really difficult to do that. But at the same time, when you're all clicking, it's really, really fun to kind of just be able to go around the room and everyone can add something to the group, and it really becomes this really personal texture.
And you really are able to hear other people play and develop musical ideas with them.
You can really dig in and explore kind of the more powerful side of the instrument than you can in an orchestra, where if you did that, you would just blow everybody else away.
Playing in a chamber group is something different than playing in an orchestra or playing solo, because you really get that intimacy between the players, which is something that I really enjoy doing. You get to kind of play off them and see what they're doing and have that kind of communication with the music.
Clicking is when you're running the piece and you're not thinking about the notes and rhythms. No one's thinking about anything that's on the page, and you're all thinking about stuff that's not there. When the group isn't just 4 people, it's one group.
It's like in any music, it's like doing something different that's not necessarily written on the page or like in the notes themselves, but like thinking about dynamics that maybe aren't written on the page, making it really your own.
One of the things my teacher here stresses is just playing with a lot of emotion and trying to make that come across to an audience. And so, it might be the music is more about than just what's on the paper, right? There's 2 things. There's the paper and there's the music. And so to try to really make it come off the page, it could be just thinking about a certain picture in your head or a certain time in your life while you're playing this one part of a piece. And that can really kind of make it, if you can convey that without having to think about it, then that's really like the goal.
I was always really interested in like kind of like learning styles and like learning in memory, and I always was really in tune with my own like learning styles. And so one of the things that attracted me to Skidmore was the neuroscience program.
But I didn't really know that I wanted to be a physics major until I found my research. And that's what I really, really like about physics, is that it's such a broad field that you can specialize into any number of things, and it's still within this bigger subfield that you can get this great education.
I started off in neuroscience and then hated chemistry, so I switched that to psychology. And administration kind of came later. I just last semester, first semester junior year, I took the intro class.
The biological sciences and and neuroscience techniques in general are interesting because they're very rooted in research, cell and molecular research, and it's interesting to apply that to thinking and thoughts.
I'm not just in the lab for 10 hours a day and then I go home and I do more work. I have a whole nother thing that I'm very passionate about that kind of balances that out, so I don't get burned out in the physics major, because a lot of people really do. When you're really nose to the grindstone in the sciences and you don't have another thing to go back on, it's really easy to just kind of burn yourself out. And so it's really nice to have this this whole other passion that I kind of, typical day for me is all day in Data Science Center, and then I come here and I'm in Zenkel Music Center for 5 or 6 hours at night.
So it's fun to being in the lab all day and then going to rehearsal. It's just so refreshing.
Music's always been a part of my life, and I've always enjoyed doing it. And more and more I've kind of decided that I'm probably not going to do it professionally, but I still want to be part of this world. I want to be kind of involved in that. So I'm looking for something else to do that will allow me to fulfill my passion with music, but not necessarily playing the cello.
The flexibility of the music program here, and the neuroscience program in general, it made sense for me to double major, and I was able to do it.
The way I like to think about improvising and the way I like to think about harmonic structures and theory really kind of correlates well to how I think about physics, in that everything, for me, it's not really like a mathematical thing. It's kind of like a coming up with some sort of flow and figuring out a puzzle of how things fit together. And so when you have an equation or some sort of problem to solve in physics, it's all just a puzzle. It's all just figuring out, okay, what's the easiest way to make this work? And when you're negotiating a hard set of chord changes, when you're improvising, it's really the same thing. And you're not necessarily looking for the easiest way, but you're looking for the coolest way, or the way that's most fun or interesting to you to listen to and to play.
There's a huge discipline aspect to practicing. When you're in the practice room and you can't get this passage, you're trying over and over and over again. You have to kind of sit there for hours on end, days out of the week, trying to figure it out. There's a certain amount of discipline there, and I'd say that definitely applies to academic studying as well. When you're trying to whatever it is, memorize note cards, you really have to kind of sit there and figure it out and spend some time doing it. And there's a huge amount of kind of self-discipline where you have to pull from, which I definitely think I picked up from music playing.
I've had an internship at Eastman School of Music doing music cognition research before, and that was 2 summers ago, and I went to the Society for Music Cognition and Perception in Toronto, and that was really exciting to see how they could overlap.
I had to take a piano piece and arrange it for the full orchestra, for the Skidmore Orchestra, and it was really a challenge to figure out exactly how to take each part of that puzzle, which is essentially how I started looking at the piece, was just this condensed version of what I wanted, and each part of that, and how to best score that and best arrange it so that the orchestra would sound good and that it was easy to play. And it was a really, really huge challenge, but something that was also, in certain aspects, if you were very logical about it and really thought about it, it was pretty easy. My research advisors this past summer kind of just gave me a data set and then free rein to explore it however I wanted. And so it was really overwhelming at first, and so I had to come up with a couple of tools for how I could approach that. And so to kind of help me negotiate this vast amount of information that I had to make something out of. Doing that orchestration, it had to be logical, it had to work, but it also had to sound good. And so for the analog on this would be, it had to be logical and it had to work, but it also had to show me something that was useful. Like you come in with this like blank slate. All right, here's what here's what the project here's what the project consists of. This is the data we have for the project. Now go figure something out. And it's kind of the same thing as like, all right, here's your instruments, go compose for them. There's also something about like the precise nature of how science is supposed to work that really kind of clicks in when you're playing an orchestra and you're part of like a much larger ensemble, and you have to be very precise. And you're really, like, if you mess up, if you miss an entrance, it's going to affect a lot of other people. And so I think that sort of like, all right, everything has to kind of be in its place and in the right order, kind of can translate pretty well into the kind of the synthesis of the orchestral piece.
Last year, I was in a lab that was looking at creativity and how music affects creativity. And so we were doing research on this, and I'd say that my musical background kind of drew me towards that. I knew a friend in the music department that was also a neuroscience major who was doing this research, and I said, I gotta be in this lab, this is so cool. And there's definitely, things that cross over. There's, I'm interested in why do I love this passage so much, and what's going on psychologically that kind of makes that happen. Being in this lab kind of was the perfect, crossover between what I'm doing in the music department and what I'm doing over the psych department. Finding some psychological basis for the music that we're doing and things like that. So I definitely say there's lots of crossover. I mean, and I think that goes for any department too.
Research and music are such like areas of like expertise, I guess. You have to have be really involved in both of them, so being able to combine them is really rewarding. For my senior thesis this year, I'm doing eye tracking research on music reading, and I don't know, it's been great to be able to combine them. I'm also on the swim team, so that I have limited time to practice. I've needed to make my practice time very efficient, and so I've spent a lot of time thinking about how can I make it more efficient, and kind of coming at it from more of a scientific perspective. I find that I work better in smaller chunks of time, focusing really intensely on a certain thing. So I'll actually set a timer for as long as I think I'll need, and then I will only practice it for that amount of time. I mean, if I need to keep going a little bit, I will, but more measured time. And then I record how long I do things for. Just getting the efficiency and being able to analyze things and how can I make it more efficient and better. That's really helped. I can actually calculate my efficiency level. It's really nerdy, but it's really fun. Because I'll do the total time of practice, and then I'll take the amount of time that I was on the timer, that I counted down for, and then divide that by the total amount of time of practice, and it's been fun.
It's really, really hard to think of another type of education where it's possible to get as deep instruction in both areas as I got here. And I think the number one thing that really helps is the kind of the creativity aspect of Skidmore and of liberal arts education, which sounds like, buzzword, whatever. I think it's really helped me kind of develop both of the aspects of my education, is that it's encouraged to think outside the box and to bring aspects of both into the other. And maybe I'm not outwardly talking about this in the way that I am now in a lot of situations, but it's something that I've definitely been encouraged to think about, is how both of these affect each other, how the physics affects the music and the music affects the physics. And then also being able to take other classes to kind of expose myself to other interests and other people's ideas, which I was really interested in doing, and I did to a certain extent. I wouldn't have had that opportunity at, say, like an engineering school or a conservatory.
There are lessons that I've learned, being in youth orchestras that a conductor will teach, that applies to the music, but will be, something that you could apply elsewhere. There's friends that I've made through the music, through music playing. There are, so many different things that I've done that involve music, that I'd say to say that there are ways that I look in life that don't involve music would be a lie. I think that everything that I do, everything that I see, and everything that I hear involves and has that background of music, which I think is, it's what makes me me.